for the intent. That's where the compensatory storage is going to be. They're going to fill the lot where the box is, excavate in that easement for the compensatory floodplain storage. The new home's not being built, so that fill's not being placed, so there's no need for the compensatory excavation, hence no need then for the stormwater management easement on this lot. The green area along the property line between two lots there, that's the actual delineated wetland on these properties. In accordance with the Lake County Watershed Development Ordinance, as part of the subdivision, they created a wetland buffer area adjacent to that wetland to protect that wetland. That buffer encroached again on the existing home. It wasn't a big deal at the time. The ordinance allows what they call buffer averaging. Basically, you can kind of squeeze the balloon. If you can narrow the buffer in one area, if you expand it in another, just so that the buffer area total remains the same on the lot. So that's what they're proposing to do is two things with this plat amendment. One is to abrogate entirely the stormwater management easement because that, again, that compensatory storage isn't required for the home to remain. And two, to average the wetland buffer to get, to squeeze it a little tighter, closer to the wetland to get the house out. That's the area that we see here by where the existing home is, the green area. And so they remove a little over 2,800 square feet of buffer area where the house is, and then expand the buffer on the west side of the lot and actually add more buffer area. So that the buffer area actually increases through this amendment. So we reviewed the plat. The platting of it is fine. I only created this illustration because it makes it clearer, I thought, to see where the existing home is. I think that plat's a little tough to read, but it is technically correct for these revisions. So it's our recommendation that the board would approve this plat amendment. We'll take send it back to the developer, get all the other necessary signatures.
Well, suppose somewhere down the line, the house approved, they want to build the house as originally proposed. But you reinstate.
They would have to then grant a new stormwater management easement, or they could do it by deed restriction. Usually when it's a single lot.
But if there's a plat with a recorded lot, which meets the requirements, to eliminate necessary stormwater management decisions, can you prevent them?
If any building permit they come for on this lot will still have to meet the floodplain regulations in the Watershed Development Ordinance. And one of the regulations is that the compensatory storage area has to be in either an easement or a deed restriction. So as part of the building review process, we would require the deed restriction to be created if they come to build a new home. We've done this elsewhere when it's single lot development.
It would seem to me, though, that so that it doesn't slip through the crack, we want there to be an agreement as part of this that would be recorded that would say that in the event that this lot, that this home is torn down and it's moved, new construction is, that there is an understanding that there's going to be a new stormwater management easement that's
The thing is, if you looked at this as a standalone lot after this plat amendment, it would be no different from 20 other lots that don't have.
I know.
Let me just finish. That don't have an obligation to say that if we build something, we'll come in because they are governed by these ordinances already.
Well, we didn't have an obligation to do a 3-lot subdivision when it came to us. But now the developer is asking for this to be changed. So, and now it didn't work out the way he wanted it. And so he's asking us to change it back. After we already got his 3 lots. That's a completely different situation than an existing lot in the village.
And I am concerned that somebody is going to be able to say, look, we got a buildable lot here. We've eliminated the stormwater retention project that was the condition for the original plan. Sure.
I mean, first of all, I don't think it's too much to ask. We can certainly have the developer revise this plat to include explicit requirement that any floodplain fill on this lot will require creation of a new compensatory storage.
That's all.
And I think we should do that because I think that
4 or 5 years from now, this may be ancient history.
It's
and
going,
I may not be here.
this new house is going to go up on that lot eventually.
Yeah, if it was a tear down several years ago, it's still a tear down. The
That's,
economy is
eventually they're gonna tear it down. The only difference is now, new house might not be as big, could be smaller, could go in a different spot.
Could be bigger.
It's
So,
not-
it could be bigger, so that retention pond, no matter what happens with the new house, is gonna have to be recalculated anyways, and maybe shifted somewhere else on the lot. But he's still gonna have to put a compensatory storage on this lot
Right,
somewhere.
we'll have them add that just so it's absolutely clear in the record here, but
Right.
procedurally, whether we do or not, in order to fill the lot to build a house, they'll have to provide compensatory storage and have to put that in a deed restriction, but there's nothing wrong with having that clear so that whoever buys this lot has no argument.
That may be fine, but somebody might buy the lot
Right.
without this showing in a subdivision plan.
Yeah, that's an easy change for them to make to the planner, so I'll run that through them, and ask them to bring it back to us then, before the next board meeting.
Pat, the wetland was not changed at all. Is that
No,
correct?
there's no impact at all on the wetland. This is the buffer, the 50-foot buffer area adjacent.
Right, and what's the purpose of the wetland buffer?
The wetland buffer, it just simply, it limits the allowable uses in those buffer areas. Absent the buffer, that development would be able to go right up to the edge of a wetland, so you could have parking lots, driveways, even, buildings right up against the wetland itself. And there's I guess, a recognition out there that you need to have some vegetated space between your development and your wetland if you truly are going to protect that wetland. There's little point, I guess, in calling the wetland protected if you pave right around it. So
Well, why wouldn't the buffer area then be in the perimeter around the delineated wetland? To protect the wetland, to make sure that nobody encroached on it. Looks like here you could put a driveway right up against it.
against the wetland,
Yeah.
the roadway up at the north, we talked about that roadway. I mean, there's a lot of flexibility.
Wait a second, I can answer this more quickly. Everything between the dotted lines, Pat, is what?
Is wetland buffer.
So in other words,
Oh, okay.
everything.
Okay, so the purple area was an extension, an
Yes.
addition to, okay, didn't understand that thing.
And the buffer area concept is relatively new to the ordinance, and I think there was a recognition that they didn't want to go overboard, just simply prohibiting you from using this area at all. So there's a lot of flexibility. You can use for trails and some pavement. You can have some encroachments in it, and it can be averaged out and squeezed and moved around a little bit. So it's
My only point is, I don't want an innocent purchaser 4 or 5 years from now. Be suddenly be told, oh yeah, there's a restriction on this, it's not in the plan.
no, and that's a legitimate concern.
Okay.
They won't have a problem making that change.
Okay.
Got your motion, Rudy. Thank you. It'll be on the next meeting, right?
Right.
Standing committee reports, Cheryl Chamberlain? Standing committee report?
I met with the RRA Safety Bikepath Committee, and we talked about several different things. At some point, Pat and I are going to meet to talk about a bike path along Riverwoods Road. But another thing I wanted to bring to your attention was that the committee is interested, again, in reviving the concepts of paths among and between the neighborhoods. And so what they're going to do is ask different neighborhoods, would you be interested in this? Where might we put it in your neighborhood? That sort of thing. So I just wanted to let you know that this concept is being revived again. And roads, you've already heard about from Pat, and I was very happy to see the nice comment about the Gypsy Moth Spring. So that's it.
Sherry?
Building department report is very short this month. In 2008, from June 1st to June 25th, we had one single-family remodel with a construction cost of $115,000, plus various miscellaneous